The Polaris Ranger and the Jeep Wrangler have very little in common. One is a road-going car that is also an off-road legend and a pioneer of the four-wheel drive vehicle nonetheless. The other is a purpose-built off-roader that is designed to go where no car will go. So what are we doing here with the two of them in one frame? Well, to put it in one word, we're just here to have some good old fun. And in the process of this fun and games, research, we're going to tell you just how similar or indeed different the two of these off-road vehicles feel alongside each other. So without further ado, let the games begin. So we've just finished with the off-road circuit now. This is the off-road adventure zone circuit in Gurgaon. It's one of our favorite off-road tracks to come to because they have nice and clean obstacles. Some of them can be quite challenging, but as you understand, these are brand new cars and we can't really scrape them anywhere. So we need to be a little protective about them when we go about these obstacles, which is why we don't do the most hardcore ones over here. But nevertheless, coming back to the Wrangler, I think today this car really impressed me. The way it delivers power right at those slow speeds, that instant when you need just the precise amount of power, when you depress the throttle just the right amount, it'll give you just that much power, and with the right kind of traction at each wheel. The four-wheel drive system is very intelligent. So every time you dab at the throttle a little bit, just for that little bit amount of power to get over an obstacle, it delivers the precise amount of power in a very mechanical way. So it feels very nice, direct and engaging to drive. It gives you the right amount of power. In fact, while photography and videography, what you're required to do is balance the car at a certain limit so that it's balanced on two wheels at a point of time. And to do that in the Wrangler, it's easier than in anything else I have driven so far. So the Wrangler has really impressed me. Our camera crew is especially happy today, so we are all very happy about that. But more importantly, aside from the way it delivers its power, the Wrangler's powertrain is just so competent. The suspension setup too is absolutely brilliant. There's plenty of travel, and the way the wheels can compress in different angles, it's truly amazing. That's what you require of a true blue four-wheel drive SUV. And if you want to go a little bit faster, well, this car is ever so playful. Now the Wrangler in two-wheel drive is an especially tail-happy car. It just loves to slide and drift, and it is absolutely beautiful on the limit. It's a very well-balanced car, despite the fact that it is a very tall vehicle at the end of the day. But despite that, I think the ride and handling setup off-road is phenomenal. So on that front, I don't think any other four-wheel drive SUV out there can really match the Wrangler's off-road credentials. Although this is only the unlimited model, so imagine what you could do with a Rubicon rock track with an even lower gear ratio for the low-range gearbox, along with a disconnecting sway bar and front and rear locking differentials. That stuff you do not get in this unlimited model, but nevertheless, I didn't really feel the need for any of it at all. The Wrangler is an absolutely brilliant off-road machine. But moving on to the on-road driving dynamics of the Wrangler, well, this might only have a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged direct injection petrol engine, but let me tell you this, that in traffic and at slower speeds, it feels extremely powerful. In fact, there's a little bit of a delay in the throttle pedal, but once you get the power going, it just takes off. So it feels very powerful. The engine note itself is very nice for a 2-liter petrol engine. So on the whole, it really does feel in character with a Wrangler. And as the roads open up, the Wrangler won't disappoint. It's got plenty of power right up to the triple-digit speeds. And as you head out onto highways at higher speeds, you will realize that the gearbox is a fairly smooth shifting 8-speed automatic unit. It goes through the gears cleanly. It holds the right rev, the correct gears whenever you need more power. Despite the lack of a sport mode, you don't really feel the need for one. It's only under intense kickdown acceleration that you will feel a certain amount of lag from the gearbox, but that is given with any torque converter automatic gearbox. So on that account, the Wrangler also performs well on the road. As far as steering and suspension setup go, well, the steering is not the most precise unit out in the world, but that is also down to the tires it drives on and the suspension setup. And I mean, who are we kidding? This is a Jeep after all, and its priorities lie elsewhere. On the ride and handling front, I think the handling is fairly decent. It performs better around wider sweeping bends on expressways and highways, but on tighter bends, that's when you feel the entire weight of the car on your wrists. As far as the ride is concerned, well, as the speeds build up, it gets better. But at slower speeds, you tend to get jiggled about a little bit. But that again is down to its off-road suspension setup. At the end of the day, this car should cater to its off-road needs more than its on-road needs. And on that account, the Wrangler is right on the money. When it comes to the interiors of this 4th generation Wrangler, it's a remarkable step up from the previous generation model in terms of build quality and fit and finish. The cabin is generously draped in leather, while the plastic quality is fairly decent too, and so is the switchgear quality. In terms of equipment, this Wrangler Unlimited may not be loaded to the gills, but it has everything you need in terms of a large infotainment system with crystal clear display, a 7-inch driver information screen that shows you your vital information such as 4-wheel drive modes, steering angle, etc. You of course get a climate control system along with power windows front and rear. But for me personally, I have to say that I really appreciate Jeep retaining the vertical dashboard that pays tribute to previous generation Wrangler. And of course, a special mention goes to the 4-wheel drive gear lever that makes you feel right at home with a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Now, as we know, the Polaris Ranger is an out-and-out off-road vehicle. It is a dedicated off-road vehicle, which in fact you cannot drive on the road. And on that account, you're not so much bothered about, scraping a bumper or any of that because it doesn't have any. So you're far more free in your mind to go and tackle obstacles. Now, we haven't taken it to the full limit here simply because we're just driving it over the same obstacles as the Wrangler to tell you what it feels like. The difference? Well, at slower speeds, the Wrangler feels far more engaging to drive. The power delivery, throttle response, steering response, everything is very communicative and you feel very confident off-road. Whereas the Polaris, well, it does not feel as involving to drive off-road as the Wrangler. But as the speeds build, that's when you start to have a lot more fun. This thing, dynamically, it has its limitations. But if you are skillful and careful, you'll have a little bit of fun out on dirt. But as far as off-road obstacles go, this thing will do anything the Wrangler does and more. In fact, the shorter wheelbase models are even more capable on that front. But as you saw, despite its extremely long wheelbase, this thing is very capable. But as you tackle those slow speed off-road obstacles, you have to be careful about its steering angles when you have 1 or 2 wheels in the air, because this thing can flip, so you should be careful and you should have a little bit of practice before you start challenging this vehicle dynamically. So on that account, the Polaris demands far more dedication, but it is a purpose-built vehicle after all. So as you've seen, we've had quite a lot of fun out on this track today. We've tested both these vehicles as to their off-road capabilities in terms of power delivery and suspension articulation. And on those accounts, Polaris, of course, as I mentioned, is far more capable. But the Wrangler on its own, even in this unlimited setup, is very capable. It feels very competent on the off-roading front, because of the insane amounts of suspension articulation that it is capable of, along with the accuracy of its power delivery that makes it so engaging to drive off-road. And as you start to drive both of them faster, both of them can be a whole lot of fun in their own ways to drive on dirt tracks and such. So in the beginning, as I had mentioned, both these vehicles are very different in nature, and when you drive them, that becomes even more evident. But on the whole, both of these are very competent machines. But most important of all, well, both of them allow you to have a whole lot of fun from behind the wheel.